Is everybody ready and set? Okay.
Friends, I want to welcome you and thank you for coming to spend this time with us. We are honored in so many ways to have Governor Huckabee visit us here on our farm and join us in support of my son Jay and his candidacy for Secretary of State here in the state of Missouri. We feel a special kinship to Governor Huckabee based on a variety of values that we think he has not only exemplified in public office, but he has certainly emphasized and helped people understand by his communications in the media. So it's with that sense that I'm delighted to welcome you here, to thank you for coming out, and to thank the Governor for his participation. Governor?
Thank you. Well, I want to begin by saying thanks to General Ashcroft and his wife Janet for giving my wife Janet and I the opportunity to be here at a magnificent, beautiful farm. And we're delighted to come and help Jay. I think a lot of us who have known the Ashcroft family from many, many years of their public service would recognize that not just in Missouri but across the country, the name Ashcroft is really the gold standard of public service. And I mean that with all my heart. From the time I first heard then Governor Ashcroft speak, I knew there was something very, very special and remarkable about his commitment to serving people, not selfishly, but with a true sense of the kind of sacrifice that you hope for in people who run for office. I really believe that this is one of those cases where the fruit didn't fall far from the tree. And Jay is representing not just the Ashcroft family, but the integrity and the honor of bringing public service back to where it ought to be. We don't see enough of that today. And I just want to say how grateful I am for the opportunity to be here to endorse Jay. The job of Secretary of State may not be one that people talk about every day at the breakfast table, but what that job entails and what a person as Secretary of State does in making sure the elections are fair, that they're operated with integrity, making sure that the records of the state are kept in proper order, it's absolutely essential to a good government operation. And that's why having somebody who is committed to doing what's right, and in this case Jay being really the only true conservative in this race that I think represents what a lot of people, not just in this part of Missouri, but across the state, as Republicans really believe. So I just want to say how grateful I am for the opportunity to be here with them. It always thrills me if somebody is willing to be seen in public with me. So with that, I'll turn it over to the candidate. Jay?
Well, thank you very much for everyone for being here. I want to especially thank my mom and my dad for opening up the family farm, and Governor Huckabee for coming down here and showing your support. It means a lot to me that someone with your experience and your record of fighting for freedom and liberty for people would be willing to support the campaign. And that's why we're all here, to celebrate our values, this great country, this great state, and the freedoms that we enjoy, and to work to make sure that those freedoms will be enjoyed not just by ourselves, but by every member and individual of the state, and for their children and their children's children. I thank you for being here, and we have a little bit of time. If anybody wants to ask a question, we'd be happy to take a question or two.
I already saw the sign about the voter ID, so does that seem to be a major issue for you?
Well, I think elections are extremely important. The Secretary of State is the chief election authority for the state. Really, you could say that the Secretary of State's office is the intersection of government and liberty, because that's where people, through elections, decide who will govern them, give the direction to those that will govern, and give legitimacy to government by deciding that. So I think it's incredibly important to make sure that we protect the votes, to make sure that you are not disenfranchised by fraud, and I'm very happy that I was able to take the lead on that, and that the people of the state held the legislature's feet to the fire, and we'll get to vote on that in November.
Could you talk more about that initiative petition?
Yeah, it was really a simple thing. In 2006, the Missouri Supreme Court held that to require a photo ID in the state of Missouri was unconstitutional, so we had to change the Missouri Constitution. The legislature had worked on it for 9 years, and I just got tired of waiting. It's a simple, common sense thing that we the people have been asking for across the state, and it wasn't getting done. We filed a petition last year. People across the state helped us collect signatures. The House introduced it. Representative Duggar took the amendment that I had filed and introduced it. The leadership in the House was very helpful, and now because it's passed, the people of the state will vote on it in November.
Your primary opponent was wondering why you didn't submit that petition.
Well, it's very clear. It's already on the ballot. The people gave me those signatures for one reason and one reason only, so that they would be able to vote on a photo ID amendment to the Constitution. That amendment is on the ballot. If I then go ahead and submit those signatures, all that personal data that they're required to submit with a petition becomes public data. And that's just not right. I think especially someone that's running for Secretary of State that's in charge of the state records should understand privacy and data protection and should protect the privacy of the people. Those people signed that initiative petition because they wanted to vote on photo ID, and they're going to do it.
We've got, this is for any of you gentlemen, but we've got a lot of Republicans here, and the folks have spoken, and the presumptive nominee for president is going to be Donald Trump. What excites you about his candidacy and the challenge that he'll provide to Secretary Clinton?
Well, I mean, since he eviscerated me in the process of the primary, I guess maybe I could speak to it. Look, I have great respect for how people vote. That's what it comes down to. Every one of us on that stage said we are going to support the nominee, and I'm wholeheartedly doing that without hesitation, because I respect the fact that he's done something pretty remarkable. He comes into the convention with more votes in a primary than anybody in the history of the Republican Party, and you just have to respect that when that many people in your own party vote for someone, it's my job to respect the voters. I wish they'd picked me. I tell everybody, my first choice for president this year didn't make it, so I'll support the person who did. But that's what we have. We have an election, not a selection. And let me just say this. I don't think anybody that was on that stage knows Hillary Clinton better than me. I've dealt with the Clintons for 35 years in my adult life, and I can assure you that it's real easy to support our nominee when I'm thinking about the prospects of Hillary Clinton being in the White House.
We have time for one more question. Anybody?
Well, back to Jay Ashcroft. Besides the voter ID thing, what else would you do different as Secretary of State than our current Secretary of State?
Well, I mean, photo ID is just one way to help protect our elections. Another thing we need to do is worry about individuals that are registered to vote that shouldn't be registered to vote. There are about 28, 29 different states that are in a consortium, and they aggregate voter registration data, including first name, last name, and date of birth. Now, just going by that, they said there were 260,000 potential over-registrations in January of last year. Now, not all of those are. Some of those are people with the same first name, last name, and date of birth, but they're multiple individuals, so that's correct. But that's the easiest way to cheat an election. So obviously, we need to go after those over-registrations. We need to get the economy back on track in the state of Missouri. We need a Secretary of State that's not focused on headlines and going after businesses, but that's focused on helping businesses to operate correctly and fairly and treat customers well, so that we'll have a growth of businesses and a growth of jobs to allow people to have good jobs and enjoy their freedom. And another thing that I talk about is privacy and data protection. I have my concealed carry permit, and the federal government knows just about everything they can know about people in Missouri that have them, because our state gave that information to the federal government when it shouldn't have. We need a Secretary of State that's in charge of all that voter data, that's in charge of our business services data, our securities regulation data, the state archives, that understands privacy and data protection also.
Just real quick, are you putting your support behind any of the gubernatorial candidates at this time?
Oh yeah, I am wholeheartedly supporting the Republican nominee.
Is there one? Okay. Republican.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.